fact or cap? I would really love to hear yours first if you'd want to, but if not, I'm happy to go first. But all right, sweet.
I'll go for it. I'll start us off. So my first question posed to you: fact or cap? The Atlanta Hawks should build around DeJounte Murray and look at trading Trae Young.
Ooh, like it. Very interesting, but to be fair, Trae Young, he arguably could have been on our biggest disappointment list. The guy just doesn't swing the damn rock. I'm not going to lie. Like, watching the preseason, Trae Young was making these passes, like quick passes, not over-dribbling the clock out. Then you get to the regular season, he's a great player, but it's the same old Trae Young, just dribbling out the clock, taking bad shots, struggling shooting from the field. So I'm really not mad at you on that one, certainly. And DeJounte had that 40-piece the other day. Everybody on the Hawks is eating right now. Like Jalen Johnson, DeAndre Hunter's eating, DeJounte's now eating, Onyeka's playing all right. And then
Bogey's playing well.
Yeah, but Trae Young, I don't know, he looks like the odd one out. And to be honest, he looks like the scapegoat at this current point in time. So definitely not mad at you on that one.
So we're saying fact for that?
I'm saying that's a fact, to be honest. But get on my ass if you're a Hawks fan in the comment section down below.
Oh, I love it. I love the smoke. I love when we ask for the smoke in the comments. It's the best.
Do you want to take turns? So it's like you go, I go?
Yeah, you go.
Okay, so my first one. The San Antonio Spurs are a playoff team. I think Victor, like what he did the other night. Right, I was watching the highlights. This guy, I don't know why I'm laughing. He's not real. Like, this guy's a 2K player. I don't understand. 7'11", shooting from three, just dribbling up the court, making plays. Like, he's absolutely insane. But not only that, I'm a massive fan of Devin Vassell. I really like how he goes about it. I could go on about the whole roster, but obviously the core, Vassell, Keldon, Wemby, and then Trey Jones as well. I think they just got a really good... Oh, and Sohan. So how could I leave Sohan out? I think the squad they got over there is really impressive. And, yeah, Pop's doing a great job as usual. I would not be surprised if they are a 6 to 8 seed. So is that fact or cap, or am I gassing up the Spurs a little bit too much?
I really want to say fact here. I really do. Because I do see the potential and I do see how... while this roster has gelled, but I'm going to say cap for now, and I'm not going to say cap that they're going to miss out the playoffs entirely, but I reckon they're not going to be an instant playoff seed. They're going to be a play-in team at the very least, as a bare minimum, and they could sneak into the playoffs. Anytime you have Victor playing the way he did the last two nights against the Suns, I'm giving him every single chance. That, obviously, mind you, there was a bit of luck in that first game with that steal and the way they sort of came back in that game. But then the second game, they was a convincing win, especially away from home. It just showed how damaging this Spurs roster can be. And I love that Sohan took up the challenge of guarding Devin Booker on the entire night. Although Booker still did have a really good night, he frustrated Booker, and then does his typical shit when they're up. He starts talking smack back to Sohan, but he doesn't back it up because they take the L. So fuck you, Devin Booker, on that one. I'm a bit of a Devin Booker.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like the way Book goes about it. But I'm gonna say cap for now on this one. But I think there's a potential there that they could be a playoff team, especially if they continue to feed Victor the ball, and like they did when he gets into the paint, like just throw it up to him. He's gonna catch everything. He's got the reach to out.
He's not soft either. Like I thought Wemby was a little bit soft, but bro, when he's pissed off, like oh my god, you could put the whole team on him 5-on-1. It's like he's on a skills mini hoop. I don't know if you had one of those. You probably did. Like we all did back in the day.
Yeah.
Like
Fisher Price.
You ever one-on-one like your sister or like any of your friends on that, and it really did get heated. Like Wemby is playing on one of those. Like you kind of have to tick him off a bit, and then he just goes crazy.
And I love when he gets in the painted area. He's aggressive. He wants to flush on somebody. He's not afraid, especially when he gets like on a reverse.
Yeah, but he warms up to it. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. And like he's built for those big moments. We saw in the clutch. He obviously in the fourth quarter he seems to score a lot of his points against the Mavericks in his debut yesterday against the Suns. So I think with him, if he plays the way he did the last two games, night in night out, I give the Spurs every chance to make the playoffs. But right now I'm going to say cap, but it's not like major cap. It's slight cap.
Yeah, nah, I feel you.
It's a weak cap, weak cappuccino.
Yeah.
A weak cap.
Nah, I feel you.
Second question I've got posed to you is the Memphis Grizzlies should tank regardless of Ja's return and try and secure a high pick in the draft.
That's a fact. You know what? That's a fact because we talked about this briefly before, but Ja's out 25. Like they look like the worst team. I might be blowing up a bit, but the worst team since the Charlotte Bobcats. Like, they look that bad. Like, they look really, really bad. So, in my eyes, if you got a guy like, obviously, Buzelis and Holland I mentioned before, but to me, the main one, you get a guy like the NBL's own Alex Sarr, pair him next to Jaren Jackson Jr. as a frontcourt duo, two guys who can stretch the floor, block shots, post up with Ja Morant, and then Desmond Bane. I feel like it really is worth it if they want to push for a potential title in the future to get that additional piece, because obviously it's hard to attract guys to Memphis, and maybe they thought a guy like Zaire Williams could be that guy, but I would probably take the risk and secure a top 10 to 5 pick. I would say fact on that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it now. They're down by a point to the Blazers just at the start of actually, they just scored a bucket. They're up by a point against the Blazers early in the third quarter. But I'm just looking through their roster, and I know Ja's out, and obviously they've got missing Brandon Clark, Steven Adams.
Yeah, I forget about Clark
guys
as
of that
well.
nature.
He's really good.
Yeah, but look at this roster, though. They've got Jaren, Desmond, Marcus Smart. Obviously, you have D-Rose. But then the names after this are just like, ugh. You really wonder, are they going to win a lot of games this year? David Roddy, Zaire Williams, Xavier Tillman, who can hold his own, John Conchar, Luke Kennard, Vince Williams Jr., Jacob Gilead, Kenny Lofton Jr. Like,
you lost me on Vince. You lost me on Vince Williams. I know Kenny Lofton, but come on, Vince Williams, bro. Like who is Vince? Who? Yeah, I don't mean to be disrespectful to Memphis fans, but like, I'm sure I could go to the G League draft and pick out a couple players. And nah, we won't get into that because I'm not a GM here. But like, Vince, bro, who the heck is that? Nah, but anyway, I get what you mean. Their upside's really
that's what I mean.
Good,
like,
but then we're not going to get into that because I've just triggered every single person in the city of Memphis right now.
This isn't the triggering NBA fan bases video, Marcus.
Oh my god.
But yeah, I think there's no better time to do it than when all these guys are out injured with Ja's suspension. I think it's the perfect time to do it. So I would say fact on that as well.
Yeah.
You're up, buddy.
All right, bro. No, for my next one, Shane Sharp should be the clear-cut number one option in the city of Portland for the Blazers. I feel like, look, as much as we harp on, people are saying Scoot's a generational talent. I like Simons, but to me, he's a secondary guy. He's like a CJ. And then Aiden as well. Love Aiden. Dominating. But Sharp's just the best scorer. He has the most upside on that team, in my eyes. He's a 6'7" wing. He can fit the mold of like what a Zach LaVine to me is, or an Anthony Edwards. He scores from all three levels, rebounds better than a guy like Simons, and to me he could be just as good of a playmaker as a guy like Simons. So I would go on the route of giving Shane the keys. He's averaging 20 a game, close to 6 rebounds, around 3 assists and a steal and a block. Not the game today, but the game prior, he had 29, 7, and 5. He is really good. He's really gifted. He did start off the bench, I think, at the start of the year, but with Simons going down now, obviously he's going to be playing 40-plus minutes a night. He's really gifted, and if that guy was to play in college, I genuinely think he would have been a top 3 pick, to be honest. So is that fact or cap? Should he be the number one, clear-cut number one option on that team?
I say fact because with Anthony Simons, I feel like, he's a great shot creator off the dribble. He's, a potent scorer, but I feel like outside of that, he doesn't rebound the ball at a high rate. He doesn't play make to the level that, we'd expect of a guy of Anthony Simons' skill set. And just defensively, I don't know. I'm not still sold on him being a great defender either. But with Shaden Sharp, he's bouncy. He's got a quick first step. He can shoot the three ball. His willingness to attack the rim is second to none. He's got a decent mid-range game. I think that's still a little bit of a work in progress, but I think he can definitely, if he can improve on that and those, that mid-level zone, he's going to be even more potent. But what did I say the other day? I've completely gone blank. I said he reminds me of a Zach LaVine, and there was another player that I said he's a hybrid of. Do you remember?
I said Anthony Edwards. I'm pretty sure you said Zach.
Yeah.
But
Zach LaVine, Anthony Edwards. It was both 6'6" guards, both with tremendous athleticism.
I mean, we could say Jordan and Kobe, but not jokes.
Let's pump the brakes a little bit. But those guys, Zach LaVine and Anthony Edwards, I think have really, really closely resembled to a guy like Shaden Sharp in the sense that, they got outwardly athleticism. They can both shoot the three ball quite well. Ant, a more improved three-point shooter. Zach came into the league with a bit more of a heater, a bit more of a flamethrower in that sense. But I think he's definitely got that potential to live up to those kind of guys and, reach that kind of an ascension in terms of being an all-star caliber player, an all-NBA level player. So I definitely agree with it, and I definitely think it's fact, and I think, Portland would be silly not to build around him. I mean, Scoot, it's still early stages. We'll have to wait and see how he plays out, but I don't think Simons is the man. I think it either has to be Shaden Sharp or Scoot down the track, and I think you could try and extract the maximum amount of value out of a guy like Anthony Simons in a trade package and see what else you can do, whether it's picks or whether it's another player of a similar nature or, maybe an upgrade on Simons possibly. More suited to what the Blazers actually need. So we'll see how things play out, but I completely agree, and I completely think that's fact. So the next one, we got how many do we have left each? We have 3 left each after this one, 2 after this one actually. So my third question posed to you is, Austin Reeves is a one-year wonder and teams have scouted him and worked him out in terms of how to defend him.
Nah.
Fact or cap?
Cap. Austin Reeves, I feel like the expectations we put on him, I mean, I guess people blow it up as if, Austin Reeves to me was never going to be, an all-star level guy or the next, third star for the Lakers. To me, he's just a microwave scorer who just, he's a sneaky athlete. I don't have any expectations for Austin. I think he played a really good game, I thought, last game. But, yeah, to me, he's just a 10, double figures points per game scorer who can, on the off night, get you 6 to 7 rebounds and shoot the ball well and play make. But I don't think people should expect Austin to be a star of this league. To me, he's a star in his role type player. So I'm going to have to say cap for that one. But I'm keen to hear what you think of Austin, because obviously I might be biased as a Lakers fan, but yeah.
Look, I don't think he's necessarily a one-year wonder in the sense that he's not going to be a serviceable player in the league.
Yeah.
But I think the way people were hyping him up, people were, putting all these expectations on him, or he's the third star next to LeBron and AD.
Never was, to be honest.
No, but
yeah, people
I'm
did
NBA
say
fandom,
yeah.
and people are putting that kind of expectation, and people are putting that kind of label on him. And so, when you are getting labeled like that, and when people are putting a specific level of pressure on you, and you need to live up to that or whatever, you don't even have to live up to it, but you'd expect that if people are not just fans, but people in the media saying hyping Austin Reeves up to be this player, and then him playing for Team USA, that's also like another expectation. It's like, well, if he's played on the USA team, then he has to be performing a lot greater than he is. And like he's only averaging 11 points, 4.5 boards, 3.4 assists on 34% from the field, 21% from three. Like, I think he's a great role player, and I think he's going to be in the league for a very long time. But he's never going to be more than just a guy off the bench, in my opinion. And I think the fact that Lakers see him as this third star because of what he did in one playoff run, I think it's the wrong kind of mindset. So I don't reckon it's fact in the terms of the 1 year wonder thing, but I think it's kind of fact in the sense that he might be a 1 year wonder in terms of being like a true like star level player or have that star level production in a specific series. You know what I mean? That basically is how they viewed him. So
Yeah. No,
yeah, I don't necessarily.
I understand.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. I don't think it's necessarily like he's not going to be in the league after this year or whatever. But it's just more so like, yeah, them thinking he's like the third option next to those guys. Like it just doesn't seem right. I think you're not going to ever win a championship with Austin Reeves as your third option, in my opinion. So that's just me. But yeah, he still has time to turn it around, and who knows, we might see a different version of Austin Reeves come the middle part of the year and whatever. But right now, I don't think he's living up to the label that they've put on him. So for that reason, that's the reason why I posed the question, the reason why I'm going to say it's fact for that sense, but not fact entirely in the sense that he will only be in the league for a short period of time. I think he's going to be a player in this league for a very, very long time, especially because he plays basketball the right way. Yep, you're up next.
Yeah, very quickly, another point. This is why, because I've been a Lakers fan my whole life, but the casual fandom, when, things like this just get hyped up to the point of, unrealistic expectations like we were talking about before, it ruins it for me because, yeah, Austin, I love Austin. I love watching him play, but I don't expect anything of this guy than what he brings. And, yeah, the fact that people actually did kind of label, now thinking about it as the Lakers' third star, it's just wild to me. But moving on, the Philadelphia 76ers, even with the loss of James Harden, with the ascension of Tyrese Maxey and what they got back in bench depth and those 2 second-round picks, they could make a move with those picks, and I think they could get another third star. And with that added depth chart in Rocco, Marcus Morris, KJ Martin, I think they could still be in the hunt for a championship. I'm not going to say they're going to be favourites out the East because they're obviously still not, but they are certainly still in the hunt, I think. Is that fact or cap?
I'm going to say fact, and only because I think that dynamic between Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey works a lot better than the dynamic of Joel Embiid and James Harden, because Joel Embiid and James Harden both like to play at a slower tempo. At times, James Harden likes to push the break, don't get me wrong, but I feel like a lot of the times he prefers to be in a half-court set in an isolation situation. So the guy like Maxey, who does like to get out in the break, push the rock, go coast to coast, but he can also score from, the three, mid-range, get that floater. He's not afraid of contact. I think he can do a lot of great things on the court. So I think they work hand in hand a lot better than James Harden and Joel Embiid. And then you throw in a third star that can complement them. It doesn't necessarily need to be three of the same kind of player. You know what I mean? Because you have Joel Embiid who can score at will from, he can stretch out the floor, really make it hard for the defense to sort of game plan for the Philadelphia 76ers, especially when you throw in, like I said, Maxey into the mix. And then, like I said, all you need is a similar caliber player to a guy like Drew Holiday, in my opinion. You need a guy that can get his own on any given night when his number's called, like he did last year where he dropped that 51-point game. And we're like, oh, really? Did Drew Holiday have this in him? He's always had that in him. But I think he's very willing to sacrifice and, play to the level that, that team is asking of him and, whatever role they need him. So I think they need a third star that's in a similar mold to a Drew Holiday, who can still score the ball, can defend at a really high rate, but be a complementary third star to a guy like Maxey and Embiid to be able to say, well, now we've got the perfect team built, that there's no egos, not everyone needs the rock in their hand, everyone's willing to play their role, and then that can definitely push them up into, championship contention. Not that they aren't already, but I think they can definitely go up and start competing with the likes of the Boston Celtics and even, the Milwaukee Bucks once they start getting their chemistry up to the levels that, we expect them to be come the pointy end of the season. So for me, I think it's fact. But I think it's the third star that they do go after has to be the right third star. It can't just be like putting, another superstar next to those guys, and then it's going to be an ego clash.
Yeah.
And, it's going to go all
Can't be like
So I think it has
Trae Young, because I know they would think in that realm. Because obviously, if we're looking at stars who are available, you probably think of Trae or you probably think of Levine. But I totally agree. It has to be somebody who complements Maxey and Embiid really well. And maybe Trae could in the pick and roll with Embiid. But like, that's really is boom or bust.
Yeah, definitely. So moving on to the fourth question that I've got posed to you, fact or cap. The Timberwolves should look to explore for trade options for Karl-Anthony Towns. We obviously discussed it earlier, saying he hasn't lived up to the expectations of him being that second star alongside a guy like Anthony Edwards. And obviously we know how that dynamics work between him and Rudy Gobert this past year. Obviously both were interior presences. Cat can go out to the 3-point line and obviously make shots from out there, but Gobert sort of clogging that lane up maybe took away from what Karl-Anthony Towns could do. And I think maybe that was the acquisition that really hurt Cat's production. But then saying that, I think he's the odd one out because I would rather have a guy like Gobert who could still, be a defensive anchor and, give you a rim runner and a guy that can, get offensive rebounds and extra possessions than a guy like Cat who, is not willing to do that and he's more of a perimeter-oriented kind of player. So should they look to explore for trade options, fact or cap, for Karl-Anthony Towns?
I'd say fact, especially like keyword explore. Like if the deal's right and say the Knicks have been waiting on a guy like Cat for a while now. I know they got Brunson, they got their guy, they got Randall through that trade, but Cat's like a legitimate former, I guess. Maybe he's still a star, but I guess former, you could say superstar. And there's no reason why he can't go back to that form. And the Knicks, if they were to make a deal like that, have so many assets. Even if they didn't want to give up RJ Barrett, I think they got enough picks to where they could do that. They got, guys like Sims, Mitchell Robertson, Emmanuel Quickley, McBride, Quentin Grimes. Like, they have so many pieces. Even a guy like DiVincenzo. So Minnesota benefit off that because they get depth and they get more starters. They get probably a quality point guard like Quickley to pair up with Anthony Edwards. I would definitely do that if I was the New York Knicks because you get picks and then additionally you get some really good young pieces which you could argue is almost more valuable than holding Cat hostage with Gobert. So not only do they benefit with a depth chart to me, but long-term they benefit because they get building blocks and then they get additional picks. I would say that's a massive win if that was to happen. But other teams, I couldn't really think of another team. Obviously, Cat's a really good piece, but don't really know, like, what other team would...
The Warriors.
The Golden State Warriors. I mean, that would be crazy. Do a Wiggins and Cat deal or they team up again. That would be pretty cool. But, yeah... I guess he would fit in Golden State. It's just very... I mean, what would it be like? Draymond and Moody? That actually could work, because they got Moody there, they got Kuminga there, they got Draymond there. That would be so sick, I reckon, to see Cat just jacking up threes and then Kuminga can finally have, I guess, the spotlight. Moody, he's really good. Like, he's always been really good. So playing time is all he needs, and then... with Anthony Edwards as a spot-up shooter, bro, that would actually be so cool. I think Minnesota would go out winners if they were to somehow get those two for Cat. Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm gonna say fact.
Like I said,
facts.
I'm gonna say that was a bit of a long shot, and I don't know if the Warriors would pull the trigger on that because I think they still rate those young guys highly, and obviously Draymond's still that glue guy that they expect him to be. But never say never on anything in the NBA because we thought a lot of these trades would never go through, and surprisingly they did. And yeah, we never thought Dame would be a Milwaukee Buck, but here we are now today, as the season progresses, and he's teamed up with Giannis. So yeah. These things can never be ruled out. But I'll let you round out your second last question, and then I'll move on to my last one after that.
So, no, this is my last one. This one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this one's my...
Wait, do we have four only?
No. So I had the Spurs one. I had Shane Sharp. I had Philadelphia. Oh, yeah. Sorry, you're right. Yeah. This is my... Sorry about that. Okay, so my second last one, Scotty Barnes is officially... I'm blowing this up a lot because that's what, to me, Toronto fans love to do. But Scotty Barnes is officially the next Kevin Durant, LeBron James archetype. Nah, but he's... To be, like, in all seriousness, he looks really, really good. And people kind of expected this breakout last year. But third year, the dude is just absolutely dominating. 21, 10 and 6, 2 blocks. They made the right choice, I guess, with getting rid of Freddie. And he's also shooting really well from beyond the arc at like 40%. So, fact or cap, Scotty Barnes is the next generational wing or small forward.
I'm gonna say fact on this one.
Bold.
I really
Yeah.
It's a bold statement saying fact, but I really rated him highly last year. My most improved going into last season was actually going to be Scotty Barnes. I expected him to have this massive jump. He worked a lot with Rico Hines, who obviously does those runs in the summer. And he's working really closely with him in that sense. And I just expected, I saw that his 3-ball looked a lot smoother. His jump shot looked a lot smoother going into the second year. But, I think with that uncertainty of his role last year, and I think, not being really sure of where he fitted into that roster with Pascal and, Freddie and all this, it maybe stunted his growth a little bit. But I think with the new coach, Darko Rajakovic, coming in and, Pascal's kind of taken almost a back seat to Scotty Barnes this year. And, he's been given a license. He's been given the keys specifically to, run that offense. And, he's also, I think the underrated statistic that you actually didn't mention here was that he's actually averaging 2 blocks per game as well. So the fact that he's, doing it on both sides of the ball, and he's been a complete offensive player as well in terms of rebounding, facilitating, and also shot creation. And the 3-ball looks much improved. I think it's well and truly fact. Obviously, he has to try and sustain it throughout the season, but there's no reason if he doesn't keep this up, he'll be an all-star. And, possibly, depending on where the Raptors finish, he could end up being an all-NBA caliber player by the end of the year. That's obviously an overreaction and a bit of a bold take. We did our bold take videos recently, but I think it is a bit of a hot take for me to say that. But there's no reason with the keys to the offense and the keys to the franchise being handed to Scotty Barnes that that he can't continue to grow and develop, and they can't continue to achieve good things, especially if they can start to make some moves, possibly try and trade for Pascal Siakam and see what they can extract while Pascal's value is still high. And use this year as more of a rebuild year and as a learning year for a guy like Darko Rajakovic in his first year as the coach, to obviously see what they can do and where they can go. But Scotty Barnes looks every bit of the player that the Raptors expected him to be, and the reason why they picked him so highly at number 4 in the draft a couple of years back.
Yeah, 100%. Scotty, proving me wrong. Nah, he's an absolute beast though. Like, he's insane.
Yeah, he is. He looks, and he just he's got that dog in him. I remember at Montverde, he used to always when he used to dunk on people, he had that fire in him. And
he had the dreads out as well. Like, he was just a scary man, to be honest.
Yeah. He's a freakish talent, and I really like the way he's come about. But my last question posed to you is about the Phoenix Suns, and it's about, obviously, their dynamic, and it hasn't sort of worked out in the early season thus far, especially dropping those last 2 games to the Spurs. But Bradley Beal being sidelined should be signs of concern for the Phoenix Suns going forward. Fact or cap?
Bradley Beal, okay, so Bradley Beal slowing down. I mean...
No, Bradley Beal being sidelined.
In terms of being his body slowing down, deteriorating.
Yeah.
I would say fact. It is a bit worrying. Bradley Beal's... How old would Bradley Beal be now? Probably 33. I would say...
No, he's 30.
He's 30?
He's 30. Yeah, he's born in 93, I think, or 92. So he's either 30 or 31.
Not as old as I thought. But I would probably say it's pretty worrying, just because it's I don't know, you gave up a lot to kind of get Beal in, and then obviously with the loss of Aiden, it kind of makes it KD book. I would say, no, it is extremely worrying, because I mentioned before in a previous video, I think the hot take video, I think I said their depth chart is probably the worst in the league, and I'll stand by that, especially if Bradley Beal's not playing. Like, that is some team. Like, obviously, KD Book, they're going to have enough to be a playoff team and probably a good seed, but come playoff time, like, they need help, and Bradley Beal's going to have to be there. So if his body's deteriorating, it's going to be really difficult for the Phoenix Suns to reach where they want to reach, which is ultimately to win the NBA championship. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a tough one, but like you got to kind of get to give in a trade. Like, it's never going to be full 50-50. So they did the right thing by the organization by bringing Brad. I don't think that they should, kind of regret it, because in this league, to be champions, you got to sacrifice, and that's what they did. They did what's best for the organization. Sometimes, unfortunately, it just doesn't always pay off, and we've seen this story before with, for example, Dwight Howard at the Lakers the first time, but it's just an unlucky league. But I hope in the best, and I'm hopeful that Phoenix can, get KD and book another ring. But yeah, it is what it is. So I'm gonna have to say fact on that.
Yeah, completely right. I think we did the right thing as a Wizards organization, getting rid of him. Probably knew that he was his best was well past him, especially with the fact that he's been injured over the course of his career, and he's just purely a scorer more than a complete basketball player. Like, that's probably taken away a little bit from him. He can still play make, and I think he's better in other facets than people give him credit for. But I think, with the Suns having to then lean on guys like Eric Gordon, who's still a great player in this league, he looks really rejuvenated. But then, you have to then lean on guys like Okogie, Watanabe, guys of this nature who aren't really necessarily guys you like to lean on in situations like that. So when you don't have a guy like Bradley Beal, when the other two guys aren't maybe having the best night in KD and Book, that can then obviously cause concerns for you, and that's what it's obviously done the last few games. I mean, it might be an overreaction, those two losses to the Spurs, but it's never a good sign when teams you're supposed to beat, even with a guy like Wemby on the other side who's playing outworldly, you should still be beating the Spurs with the talent that you do have. So for me, it is worrying, but we'll just have to see how things play out, and hopefully he can get back on the court and start to show what he's truly capable of. But otherwise, it might look like a bit of a bad decision by the Suns to bring him in. But yeah, let's just see how things play out.
Yeah, live and hope. But for my last one, now originally I blew this one up, but I can't say it because it's too much. I was going to say Azar Thompson will be the rookie of the year or the best rookie in this class, but obviously like Wemby, he's insane. So I'm going to change it to Azar Thompson will be the best player out of the young crop in Detroit, out of Cade, Durant, out of all of them. I think Azar will be the best, just because all he really has to do is shoot above league average from three, and he's literally got everything else down pat. Like, he can play make. He averages 10 plus rebounds. He's a really good rebounder. He's a shot blocker. He's been a proven scorer thus far, even without the three. So if he gets that down packed, he's going to be one of the best wings in the NBA, and he'll be the leader of this Pistons young team for the future. Fact or cap?
I'm gonna say I'm gonna say cap. Yeah. I'm gonna say cap just because I still think Cade, from what he's shown, is still the number one guy, and he was injured. Obviously, that was a big reason why we didn't see the true side of Cade. But I'm just looking at he's shooting 37% from the field, averaging 11 points. I mean, yeah, I think that's one area, especially with the NBA being so heavily dominated on efficiency now, and having guys that can shoot the three ball. If he doesn't improve that, then doesn't look good for him. But I think everything else, like you said, it's just really, really solid numbers so far from Azar Thompson on the defensive side of the ball, rebounding, playmaking. He's got everything else, like you said. And I don't necessarily disagree with it. I don't think it's a terrible take, and I don't think it's a terrible question to be posed, because I think it's a lot closer than people may think. But a guy like Cade, he's averaging 22.7 points per game, 7.5 assists, 3 boards. I think the only area is his shot selection at times. I did harp on this in the breakout players video that I did. He doesn't shoot very efficiently. Like, he's shooting 41.5% from 3, which is really good because his career percentage from 3 was like 30% leading into this season. So the fact that he's 11% higher for this season to start than he is on his career is definitely promising signs. But the area that I'm worried about is the field goal percentage. So his field goal percentage is actually lower than his 3-point percentage. He's shooting 40.7% from the field, which, again, for a high volume shooting guard, high volume shooting point guard, that's just probably not the best kind of numbers. But I think that's what we're sort of used to now in this current generation, where guys will shoot a lot of shots, shoot a lower efficiency, but still get their points. And I don't know, I think, like I said, I reckon it's a lot closer than I'm making it out to be, and it's only Azar's first year. But if he can at least get to about a 45% shooter from the or 43% from the field, and shoot about 35% from 3 over the course of his career, what he brings on the court outside of the shooting side of it, it's definitely a scary sight for a lot of teams to come. And whether he takes over as the number 1 guy on this team, or whether Cade still is the number 1 guy, I think he probably proves to be more valuable than Cade if he can improve his shooting level. So I think that's probably all I've got to say in that sense.
Yeah.
But a lot closer than it's made out to be.
Hello, yes, you at home. This is Commissioner of the NBA speaking to you, Adam Silver. Here's a message in courtesy of BenchMob in collaboration with the NBA Store. When BenchMob hits 1,000 subscribers, they'll be giving away a free NBA jersey to a lucky subscriber. So just do all the things listed on the screen.